Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 on the great Arthur Blakey. Today we're covering 58, 59, and 60 if I recall. We're going to start off with the great Bobby Timmons tune Moanin' from the album of the same name, Moanin'. This comes out in 58, and now the band's changed once again. Lee Morgan has now introduced himself on the trumpet. And Morgan and Blakey will play together for years. When Morgan gets his records on VJ coming up, Blakey's quick to volunteer services over there on VJ for him. Benny Golson shows up on the tenor here, which is something you don't see a lot of. Benny Golson on Blue Note, nor Benny Golson in the Messengers. It wasn't a very long marriage. And now we get the new rhythm section of Blakey, Timmons on the piano, who I'm a huge Timmons guy, and then Jamie Merritt on the bass. Bobby Timmons, Jamie Merritt, and Arthur Blakey will form the rhythm section of the Messengers for a couple years, and those cats, man, just had a real simpatico. They were really in lockstep, and it must have been quite a thrill to be a young Bobby Timmons or a young Jamie Merritt, and getting to play with this giant Arthur Blakey and to sit in and be able to play those fast tempos night in, night out, and those intricate arrangements. This is a beginning of a long string of incredible Jazz Messenger albums on Blue Note. In 57, you saw he was on Jubilee, he was on Pacific, he was on Bethlehem, he was on Columbia. He's just all over. Whoever he's going to record me, that Sad Boy live session, he's just looking for a home. And he's had a few live recordings, Birdland, Bohemia on Blue Note. And he did the stuff with Silver on Blue Note. But now Blue Note's brought him as the leader with his Young Jazz Messenger group. And with that new comfort and that new home, he releases a string of LPs here in the next 10 years that are a huge part of the Blue Note legacy, a huge part of what Blue Note hard bop sounds like, and the Blue Note discography is littered with his musicians as they branch out into their own careers. And so Blue Note is probably as much a product of Arthur Blakey and his career as anyone, with the possible exception of Jimmy Smith. Because Jimmy Smith, while not the house of musicians that Blakey was, Jimmy Smith sold a lot of records. And so that's an important aspect of the Blue Note legacy, is that without Jimmy Smith selling records the way he did, these other records probably don't get made. But behind Jimmy Smith, Blakey is probably the biggest name in Blue Note's history, and deserves all the recognition in the world because he's that important. And we talked about in episode 1 how modern jazz in so many ways is defined by what Blakey does, along with Kenny Clark. We're going to look at a couple more drum records he does here. These are recorded in 58. They don't come out until 59. But A Holiday for Skins. And we got Philly Joe Jones playing drums and timpani. Art Taylor's playing the drums and the gong. You have Blakey on the drums, you have Cebu Martinez on bongo, conga, Ray Barretto, Gianguito Vincente on congas, Victor Gonzalez on the bongos. You can imagine every kind of drum is going to be present at these sessions. But you also have Bird on trumpet, Ray Bryant on piano, Wendell Marshall on bass. You got some chants going on. So these are pretty unique sessions, and they fit in with those drum orgy records. Really cool to find. Minor Japanese pressings, as a lot of my Blue Note stuff is, because the Japanese love Blue Note, and they issue high quality reissues that are affordable compared to what old 4000, 1500 series Blue Notes go for. Now later in 59, he doesn't seem to do a lot of recording in 59, and I'm not sure if there was a jail sentence possibly, or maybe it was just the drugs, but these two albums, Meet You at the Jazz Corner of the World, Volume 1 and 2, come out in 1959. They're recorded live in 59, I believe in the spring of 59. And these are really important because these introduced young Wayne Shorter to the Jazz Messengers. And Wayne Shorter is going to be part of this group along with Merritt and Morgan and Timmons and Blakey for quite a little stretch. And of course, Shorter is still alive today. He's one of the great living legends of jazz. And Shorter's a young, fiery musician that again was given his first chair in some ways by Arthur Blakey. And you're going to see him also, Blakey also makes some, Shorter also makes some solo records at VJ. And I believe Arthur sits in with him on at least one of those records. 1960 now, we're going to move along. This is The Big Beat. Morgan, Shorter, Timmons, and Merritt. And I love this record. There's a version on here of That Dare I Love, Lester Left Town. Beautiful stuff. You can see that classic picture of Blakey. He seemed to really love what he did. Also recorded in 1960, but not issued until 66, is this fantastic same group with Shorter, Morgan, Merritt, and Timmons. Like Someone in Love. And that version of this is great. The version of Johnny's Blue is great. Noise in the Attic rocks, a Shorter composition. And that's another thing about Blakey. As a drummer, he's going to give room to his bandmates to compose. And so you have a couple of Shorter originals, 3 Shorter originals on this, and a Lee Morgan song. And then like Someone in Love, of course, is a Van Heusen song, Jimmy Van Heusen. Here's the second version of A Night in Tunisia. The first one was on Vic back in 57. Here we are now in 1960. Again, Shorter, Morgan, Timmons. And this group churns out some amazing versions of these songs. I love the version of So Tired on here. What a group. What a group. You know, there's few people more fiery than Lee Morgan in my mind. He always seems kind of an angry, edgy guy as he emotes. And Shorter's this kind of supernatural fire. And then with that blitzkrieg approach of Blakey, and then with Merritt and Timmons, what a group. And this iteration of the Jazz Messengers is probably my favorite. This comes out on United Artists in 1960, and it's got the same group for the most part, except for they add Curtis Fuller on the trombone, and then they add Freddie Hubbard to step in for Lee Morgan on this group. And Hubbard's a young cat as well. He's starting to make his recordings on Blue Note. So Hubbard shows up with the Messengers. Now we're into 61. And of course, Morgan's back in the group here, Shorter, Timmons, and Jamie Merritt again, the Freedom Rider. And these are just, all these records are gonna blow your doors off. Every last one of them. Same group. This was recorded in 61. Doesn't come out until 1970 for some reason. Blue Note sat on a lot of great recordings. Walter Davis is on piano on a couple of these tracks. But aside from that, it's the same group. And then also recorded in 61. This one doesn't come out until 67, is the Witchdoctor album. Morgan, Shorter, Timmons, Merritt, Blakey. So it's the same quintet. And again, what an incredible group. In 61, Impulse has made its entry into the jazz world. And they, of course, won a piece of Blakey. And this is a great little record. Beautiful, shiny Gatefold. And it's got Morgan, Shorter, Timmons, Merritt, and again they added Fuller into the mix. And the group is going to become a sextet shortly after this, when Fuller joins them full time for a couple years. So now we're also in the 61. This was released in 61. Hubbard's back in the group, along with Fuller, along with Wayne Shorter. Cedar Walton is now taking over on the piano chair, and Jamie Merritt's still on the bass. This is the Mosaic LP, a wonderful session. Cedar Walton adds a bit of a different feel than the Bobby Timmons stuff. And having that front line of Hubbard, Fuller, and Shorter. Again, these are all all-stars. But they were all all-stars in part because Blakey made them that. Again in 61, doesn't come out until 63, is Buhaina's Delight, which was his Muslim name, Blakey's. Again, Hubbard, Shorter, Fuller, Walton, Merritt, and Blakey. So this wraps up 58, 59, 60, and what an incredible legacy of one of the great groups in jazz. We don't hear enough about how important Blakey was. My name is Dan. I'm the Jazz Shepherd. Subscribe to my channel. Peace.